So many people throw the law away because we're under grace. And then there's those who are striving to save themselves by keeping the law. But see, the law was put in place as a means to measure us by, not as a way of salvation. And we cannot save ourselves by keeping something that was never meant to save us by. Romans 3:19 explains that the law makes us guilty before a holy God and shuts our mouths to all arguments and excuses. You can tell if a person is very close to God and fears Him by the way he shuts his mouth and makes no excuses. God's law shows us our true self. Let me give you an example of what I mean. One day I was driving down a 2-lane highway right here near my house, and way far ahead was a police officer that had a car pulled over, and I saw him far in advance, and the traffic was heavy, and it would have taken me some slowing down to get into the left lane, and I was too lazy to do that, so I didn't switch lanes. I stayed in the right lane. So when I passed him, he got in his car and came after me. And so when he pulls me over and comes to my window, he says to me, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" Now, I really wanted to play dumb and say, "No, officer, I don't know why you pulled me over." But remembering my commitment to the Lord, I was prepared to tell the truth and face the consequences. So I said, "Yes, officer, I do. I failed to switch to the left lane while you were walking up to the car you had pulled over by means of protecting you." And he says to me, "You do know I can give you a ticket for this, right?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I understand." And then he says to me, "Do you know how many officers die because people don't pull over into the far lane?" And then I said, "I am truly sorry for this, and I hope I never know." He then asked me what my excuse was for not switching lanes, and I said, "I actually have no excuse. My mouth was shut, as I know I was exposed and I deserved a ticket." So he took my license and my registration, went back to his car, ran my plate, and took an awful long time, and I figured, wow, this is probably going to be a big ticket. So by the time he came back to my window, he says to me, "Well, you didn't hurt me this time." And then he winked. And then he gave me back my license and registration, and he says to me, "Somehow, I think this conversation tells me that you won't ever do this again." And then he said, "Have a good night," smiled, and walked away. That police officer had the authority to judge my remorse for my crime by simply what came out of my mouth. I am certain that had I tried to justify myself, I would have certainly walked away with a ticket and the maximum fine. But he saw my genuine remorse that I truly could have hurt him. And for that, he showed me leniency. Likewise, God provided mercy through his Son Jesus' sacrifice on all who show true godly remorse for their transgression of the law. Let me say that again so that it sinks in real good. God provided mercy through Jesus' sacrifice on all who show godly remorse for their transgression of his law. And see, just like a mirror, the law shows us our true self. But trying to wash yourself with the law is just as foolish as trying to wash yourself with the mirror. The mirror shows you that you need to be cleaned, but you can't clean yourself by washing yourself with the mirror. And God's law is the mirror that shows you that you need to be cleansed, that you're dirty. And just like you can't wash yourself with the mirror, you can't wash yourself with the law. You need water to wash your dirt off, and you need the blood of Christ to wash your sin away. and to cleanse you from your unrighteousness. If you're grasping what I'm saying and you've been weighed down by the burden of your sin and you recognize that, then now you are truly ready to hear about grace and Christ crucified. And see, I'm not like the church. I won't preach grace and love and peace to you before I preach sin, law, and justice. Instead, I will preach righteousness to you because that is what you're going to need on Judgment Day. And the only way to be saved from the law and be righteous is through the blood of Jesus Christ.